We are starting right on time. One more time. Hello, Conceal Coalition. My name is Austin Davis. I'm the National Director of Training and Education for Conceal Coalition. And I am so glad you're taking time out your busy day to spend with me to talk about one of my absolute favorite topics, and that is pepper spray. And the title of today's Zoom is Pepper Spray. There's far more to know than just spray, pray. Now, why is Conceal Coalition, an organization primarily known for firearms training, so enthusiastic about pepper spray and kind of by extension soft skills? What do I mean by hard skills and soft skills? Soft skills and hard skills are different. Hard skills are shooting a gun, punching somebody. Soft skills are those things that keep you from hopefully having to shoot a gun or to punch somebody, to prevent and manage the situation before we have to go to a more aggressive use of force. The thing about pepper spray for me that is so special, for lack of better terms, is I have been a certified law enforcement pepper spray instructor since 1992. Yes, I am old. I'm so old, my social security number is like 6. I'm so old, I don't even buy green bananas. But I'm also so old, I've been around for a long time. And when pepper spray first came out in the late 80s, early 90s, it was started as a project by the FBI as a way to control suspects without having to use increased uses of force. When we first got a hold of it, we were thinking this was going to be like the phaser thing in Star Trek that would put people down. And in the early days, it didn't work as well because we didn't know as much about the formulation, about the training, and about the use of it. In the last 30 years, we've learned an awful lot about how to make pepper spray a lot more effective. And that's my whole goal, is to take those 30 years in this little short webinar, kind of combine them and have you become very enthusiastic about pepper spray. The short answer to why I'm so enthusiastic about pepper spray is because in about 80% of assaults, they're simple assaults. And in about those 80% of assaults that are simple assaults, a handgun is 100% the wrong tool. Pepper spray gives you an option between profanity and a pistol that few other things have. So what are some reasons why, pepper spray gets such a bad rap? Well, some people have no experience with pepper spray. Some people have no experience with use of force in the real world. And a lot of people tell me, I don't carry no pepper spray. I got me a gun. And besides, it looks bad if you use pepper spray for a gun. And I really don't understand that, because if I knew I was going to be going into some sort of conflict with somebody and I could just hit them with pepper spray, and if all it did was blind them, I'd much rather be gunfighting a blind person or a visually impaired person on pepper spray than some of the good visual input. If I knew I was going to have to fight somebody, and let's say you were going to say, Austin, for $1 million, we'll put you in the Ultimate Fighting Championship UFC ring, and you have to fight a guy, and you got 1 week to train. I'd work a lot on my running around the octagon skills, and I get a pepper spray and spray them before we started, because it would probably be my only hope. I think pepper spray is so useful that when it comes to police work, I carry one right here, right in the middle of my vest, and it is easily my go-to thing. What's interesting about pepper spray also is it's one of the few use of force weapons that I can think of that you can make a mistake and it's going to be okay. If you shoot somebody and you go, wow, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have shot you. Or if you hit somebody with a stick, or, you cut someone with a knife, it's really hard to take that back. 30, 40, 50 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, everybody's okay. Pepper spray is so safe. Everybody in the academy I teach out of, all the cadets, they get sprayed with pepper spray at some point. That's many classes a year, many years of cadets getting sprayed. And to this point, we haven't anybody grow horns or get a third eye. Now, who really benefits from OC? Well, I carry a gun, I don't really need to have OC. I disagree. When I leave my house, I really think that there's 2 things I need. I need my flashlight and I need my pepper spray. My gun is down the way, because to me, a gun is a very limited tool. It's only used in 3 situations. 1, to save human life. 2, to prevent harming of innocent life. And 3, tool of last resort. That leaves a whole lot of situations that are gray areas, especially in transitional spaces, where I might need some other option. And if you don't want to use pepper spray, and who should use pepper spray? People who have a gun, people who can't use a gun because they live in an area that doesn't allow it, or there's something in their background that doesn't allow them to carry it, or more importantly, they just don't have it in them to use lethal force against another human being, which My experience in the Virtual Tactical Academy is I own a virtual reality shooting school. I've been doing it for about 12 years around the country. And the people who come to me are usually people who are licensed carriers. 1 out of 5 of those people can't shoot a life-size actor on the screen. 1 out of 5 of those people, these are folks who've gone through the process of licensing and carrying a gun daily, most of the time, and they can't shoot an image on there. And what they find out really quickly is not everybody has it in them to shoot another human being. And while I'm on that topic, it's not really a shortcoming if you can't use lethal force on another human being. It's a big hurdle for one Homo sapien to kill another Homo sapien. And if you don't have that in you, a pepper spray is a wonderful thing. Also, I think pepper spray is a really nice option for people who are too young or past a certain age to have a certain judgment, but still need to protect themselves. Because again, if somebody uses it and there's a mistake, it's not a fatal tool. And my favorite part about pepper spray is hopefully no one ever puts a gun on in the morning who's a legal firearms owner and a self-defender and says, gosh, I hope I get to use this today. But almost everybody secretly picks up their car keys and thinks, man, I hope somebody makes me use this today. Only kidding. So what is pepper spray? And you're going to hear me today talking about pepper spray and OC, and they're interchangeable. OC stands for oleoresin capsicum, and pepper spray is a kind of generic name for oleoresin capsicum. There's 3 basic kind of chemicals that are commonly used in chemical restraints. There's CN gas, CS gas, and OC gas. You can go down the rabbit hole and figure out what the others are. But CS is basically hot peppers. Peppers come in Scoville heat units. Bell pepper's kind of 0, and they go up to like ghost peppers. And if you watch some of the YouTubes with like Johnny Scoville eating these really hot peppers, they grind them up and distill it and throw it in somebody's face. Pepper spray works because it is a mechanism, whereas it's an inflammatory. And they feel like they're on fire. They're not burning. It becomes very difficult to keep the eyes open, and it can cause a panic reaction breathing if inhaled deeply enough. The lungs tend to kind of feel like they want to close off. So when you think about pepper spray, I need you to think about the fact that if you don't use this organically or naturally grown product that is ground down into a distillate to stop another human being, what are your choices? Okay, you can say, I carry a knife. And I have a lot of my friends who carry guns and carry a defensive knife, and they think the knife is some sort of intermediate use of force tool, which I think knifing somebody is just as bad as shooting somebody in the use of force continuum. Some people say, well, I want to carry like an expandable baton or a club. I'm cool with that, but you can cause serious injury or death with that tool, and it's a bad look. Even if it's justified, there's still that it's right, but it's kind of an ugly response in this thing. What I like about pepper spray is if you get it wrong, and I'll repeat this a lot, 30, 40 minutes, an hour and a half later, everybody's back down. In my police world, using pepper spray is a less use of force than if I go hands on somebody and leave a mark or a bruise or some sort of hematoma on them. So for me, pepper spray is this natural product that can stop an attacker. Now, is it 100% effective in all people? Absolutely not. My experience over 30 years of using this and training a lot of officers and untold amounts of civilians in it is pepper spray is probably about 90% effective. There's about 10% of people use spray that are not impressed that you sprayed them. Having said that, though, what you think about this? A lot of people get shot with a handgun, aren't aware of it. And a lot of those people get shot by handguns survive just fine. So much so, a lot of times after an incident, I know of officers who had to check themselves and found out that, oh my gosh, the adrenaline dump, they didn't know they'd been shot. But when you get pepper sprayed, you probably won't have that effect. So about a 90% effect. And, if you think you want to use a taser for another analogy, tasers are at best about a 50-50 shot in my experience. I'm taser certified and I have to carry one on occasion for departmental policy. But again, I'm more of a pepper spray guy for a lot of very good reasons. Number one, the taser is a very big, bulky weapon. They're really expensive. Both prongs have to make contact. If you got a big winter jacket on, that may not have the effect on it. And, too close, you don't get enough prong spread. Too far, it goes too far. I think tasers maybe a 50-50 shot at it. So when you think about it, OC gives you a bunch of options that other tools do. So you've decided you're a fan of OC. you decided OC gives you some advantages when you're in a place that you can't legally carry your gun, or as an additional use of force option for your firearm, or for family members who either cannot or will not use lethal force to protect themselves, or you finally realize that there's a whole range of attacks that could happen that you need tools to deal with that are outside going hands-on and fighting with somebody. So if you decide you want to buy pepper spray, what are you looking for in pepper spray? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to look for the right formula. The first thing you want to do is you want to look at the Scoville heat units. Scoville heat unit, invented in the early 1900s by a man named Wilbur Scoville to figure out how hot a food product is. And it's kind of an arbitrary thing, kind of sat around and ate a bunch of peppers and going, ooh, bell pepper, there's 0. Oh, wow, jalapeno, that's 1,500. Ghost pepper, that's something. But when you come to SHUs or Scoville heat units in your pepper spray, they come in anywhere from about 500,000 Scoville heat units up to about 5+ million Scoville heat units. And I think you want at least 1 million Scoville heat units. But the Scoville heat unit is not really what I'm looking for. I'm really looking for the percentage in it, which is how much of the pepper spray is in the can and how much of it is propellant. And you really want at least 5%. I think 10% is probably better. So you've got a hot enough spray, and you've got enough of it in there, because it wouldn't do you much good if you had a tiny drop and the rest was propellant. You want to make sure it's hot enough, and that's MCUs, or major capsaicinoid content. And when that comes out, you really want about 1.3 or so in this. Now, bear spray, a whole other product, is about 2% major capsaicinoids. And so you're probably thinking, well, I want that bear spray stuff. Not really. Bear spray is its own unique product for animals, and you may end up with some legal problems, as strange as this sounds, if you use bear spray on people. So I really recommend using a people spray on people and a bear spray on bears, and dogs are kind of their own separate issue. I think they can use people spray in that quite well. My favorite thing about pepper spray with bears is how people treat it. I know of one hiking company that said they had to be very careful because some of their clients were thinking this is like off, that you would spray each other before you start, which I think is kind of a self-correcting behavior, single event learning, if you will. I can see if they did get eaten up by a bear after that, the bears are kind of belching and going, ooh, that was a spicy hiker. I must have eaten me a Cajun hiker. But I digress. So you want to have enough of the heat, the major SHUs, Scoville heat units. You want to have one that's hot enough, and you want to have enough percentage in there. You also want to make sure that you have a company that's reliable, so that you have a decent valve and a proper propellant. This is one of my favorites. We'll talk about specific companies in a minute. This is Sabre with the Crossfire technology. What I like about this one is there's a Mylar bag in here that separates the propellant and the unit. So it will spray in any direction, and it's a really high quality unit. If you don't have a really good valve on this thing, you may shake it and think, wow, I still feel it all in there. But if you ever had like an old can of paint, you went to go spray it and it seemed like the paint was in there, you heard the thing rattling around, that was a bad valve. And over time, all pressure wants to equalize, and you lose pressure, and you get less than a hiss, and you get a definite miss. So you really want to have a hot enough one. You want to have one that has enough capsaicinoids in it. That's the heat, the actual measurement on that. You want a company that measures it with a machine. The two I like right now are Sabre and Palm, and it's my understanding they both put them on electronic spectrometer, and they have batch control. I also think when you're looking for a unit, you want to make sure they're numbered. They have an expiration date and a lot number. So if anything ever goes bad, the company can notify you. You can check and see if there's a problem with it. If you are going to use some sort of conductive electrical device like a taser or a stun gun, which a stun gun is useless, but that's another conversation another day, or can be used around open flame, you want to make sure it's non-flammable. Some units may have some sort of flammable base, like an alcohol-based carrier. That's the stuff that propellant and gets it out into the suspect. Well, if it's a conductive weapon and you fire them off, you end up with a real burning sensation, not just sort of the imaginary sensation. So how does this pepper spray actually work? It does three things. One is when it hits the nerves of mucous membrane products, the face and the crotch area, it causes an intense burning. They're not really on fire, but as a guy who's been sprayed as an instructor many times over many years, if you're not careful, you will literally think, your brain will play games with you. You'll think, somebody must have doused me in sterno and lit my face on fire. It is possible to pry your eye open but it's very difficult for me when I get sprayed to keep them open for any length of time. I can kind of sort of halfway flash them, but as far as keeping them open without prying them open, it's very difficult. And it burns the eyes and it feels like there's like a sand kind of thing in there. And when it aerosolizes inside you and gets down in your lungs, it kind of feels like you've lost your wind. And you have to remind yourself that no, it's a bronchodilator. They use this stuff medically in much lower doses for people with respiratory problems, and just calm down and start breathing. It's going to be okay. Now, when it comes time to pick the container for this thing, and it's enough major capsinoids, it's hot enough, it's been tested, you know there's enough percentage of it in there, and you also know there's enough concentration, enough percentage of it in there. What kind of options do we have? Well, first off, it comes in 3 size units for your lifestyle. My favorite, and I think the most useful one, is the Keychain model. What I like about a Keychain model is you can't really leave your house or your car or anywhere else without taking your keys, so it goes with you. The fact that you have a pepper spray on your keychain in your hand as you're walking out in public, more specifically a transitional space, it's kind of invisible. Even if you're in a situation where they tell you you can't have weapons in the workplace, you walk in and drop your Glock on the desk and then start eating lunch, people freak out. You throw your keys in the desk, there's a pepper spray, chances are really good that's not going to be a problem. Of course, check with your employee manual, check with your supervisor, the business owner to make sure that's okay, but generally speaking, that's fine. When it comes time to pick a hand unit, a little keychain unit, some things I want you to be careful about. Number one, we don't buy these at a sporting goods store or prepackaged at a gas station back there. You need to buy quality. This is kind of like a parachute. Do not discount the gear you're going to buy. Couple things. Number one, sometimes they come in a little leather case and you've got to unsnap it or twist that little valve. Those are not my favorites. I like them. They have a simple little top that flips. So you can bang this all you want. Put your thumb right here and it goes right on in and it'll spray just fine. I think a clip is really important. I attach it to my keys with a piece of bank cord, a little black cord on here. That way I can take this off. If I'm going in a place, I can clip this inside my pocket. It comes right out and allows me to have it at hand really simply. Also, what I like about a hand unit is they are really inexpensive. Basically, they're about $12 for a palm unit off Amazon. And, you know, you're not even buying a box of 50 bullets at the range for $12, and it works really well. Palm also lets you have individual colors on these things, which you can have a white case or a black case and different color bands on it. So if you want to mark them for different family members or whatever, that's kind of an option. What I like about this unit, the keychain units, it goes everywhere you go. My favorite for this is Palm. And I think they have the best formula in the best form factor at the best price. You can shop around and ask, makes a little Kubaton looking one, and maybe you'll find something else. But if you're looking for the short version, go to Amazon, have these things shipped to you. One piece of advice that may or may not work for you is when you buy this, I'd buy at least 6 of them. The reason is at $12 a piece, they make wonderful gifts for people you're concerned about their safety. One thing we'll talk about if we have enough time here at the end, though, is when you train people, when you give it to them, it's going to take some training, and also going to take some training for you. The next size is the 3 or 4 ounce unit, and this is what you see on my vest in law enforcement. You see a lot of it on the duty gear on law enforcement. I also think of these as a home size unit. I have one of these at every opening of every door of my home. So if I open the door to anybody, I've got the unit in my hand. I think it's really important that the valve safety cover works the same on your hand keychain unit as the home unit. So all you have to do is stick your thumb in there. Remember, we always aim with use our thumb. We never use our index finger. I'll explain that why in a minute, but you really want a really good, solid unit. These also have the crossfire technology where the material's in a Mylar bag in here. So you can, every other unit's got a little tube that picks up. And if you go more than 45 degrees in any direction, you get a hiss and not a miss. It won't pick up what it needs to. This unit will spray all the way upside down. So if you're knocked on the ground, you have to get underneath somebody to spray them. It gives you some options. These are maybe $20, $22. So again, about what you're gonna pay for a box of 50 for 9mm these days. And then if you ever watch Dog the Bounty Hunter, you ever look on his leg? He's got a 1-pound fogger on his leg. This one's made by Fox. I've got some mixed feelings about Fox, but I've had some good luck with their 1 pound unit. This is the actual unit that stays in my patrol bag, and this is what I take on domestics. This way, if I've got a whole family fighting in the front yard, I can go ahead and I can shut the party down if I need to, and nobody's going to be hurt as if I have to pull out a taser or a baton or, heaven help me, a firearm to control the situation. And this is wonderful. If you're going to use one of these, a couple things. Number one, make sure the ring stays in place. Number two, if you fire it, hold on to this and then spray here. And make sure nobody pulls on this, because this handle can get ripped off quite easily. And when that happens, you end up with this sort of plume of gas running amok. And we definitely don't want that. Just a second here. Got a question. Okay. Now, how do we use it? First things first, make sure you use your thumb, not your forefinger. Next thing, please do not do this. Get back, or spray my powerful pepper spray. That's called Here You're Closer. Why don't you take it? Hold it next to your body, stick your hand out and say, get back, get back, get back. If you try to reach for it, you can push down. Make sure when you spray it across the eyes. If it gets in their mouth, benefit added to that, but really and truly, we're looking for back and forth across the eyes. It's 1, 2, and then wait and see if it works. If you keep spraying, you get sort of a dilution effect, and it doesn't get a time to aerosolize and kind of effect in there. It sort of self-washes, and it sort of slows it all down. While we're talking about the different types of spray, right now I'm using all stream. I like a fog. The one thing I don't like, though, is a gel. I don't think it works fast enough, and I've had bad results with it in the street. Your mileage may vary, but that's just me. If you have to decontaminate this, somebody grabs one of your loved ones, you spray them all and sort it out, and you pull your loved one out. Maybe you make a mistake and you're looking at the thing and spray yourself. What do? First thing, calm down. You're not going to die. You just think you're going to die. Second thing is a garden hose is your new best friend. Lots and lots of cold water directly in your face for the first 5 or 10 minutes. If you have a towel or a shirt, kind of blot to get the stuff off. Don't rub it in. If you're looking for something even better, No Tears baby formula, if you can find it, but I don't know if you'd have that in your back pocket if you accidentally got sprayed. How to practice, you need inert training units. These have nothing but propellant and distilled water in it, and you can actually practice. Have someone put on a pair of safety glasses. That way, when you spray, you can check your target and see if it went across their eyes or not. These are about $6, $7, and you don't need to burn the whole one with them. But if you just get somebody out there and let them spray once, twice, then go, that's how your big unit works, you're gonna be awesome. Now, when do you not use pepper spray? We do not use pepper spray when we're just trying to get even with somebody or teach them a lesson. My biggest problem with pepper spray is, over the years, my clients have used it in a lot of situations where I'm going to teach him and then spray him. Pepper spray is for when you think there's going to be a physical altercation that is not going to result in death or serious bodily injury, but an unlawful assault. That is the gap we're looking at to fill with a pepper spray. So, kind of in closing, before we go on with the questions, is why am I so excited about pepper spray after 30 years still? Why is it my frontline weapon on my vest, which is a very important piece of real estate? Why do I carry a big unit in my patrol bag for when I'm having large domestic or party problems in my hand? It's because for me, it's the one tool I can use and call back. One tool I can say, my bad if I get it wrong, which I can't do that if I whip out my baton and I hit somebody, or if I use my patrol knife, or if I use my firearm, or if I tase somebody and there's some sort of abreaction, they fall off a bridge or something. For me, it just allows me a lot of use of force options in places that I'm not real sure exactly what's going on. Because if you think about it, most situations, critical dynamic situations, are tense, dynamic, and rapidly unfolding. Also, what I really like is when I'm in a transitional space, it's kind of socially invisible. You walk around with a gun on the way out to your parking lot in a Walmart at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That looks a little sketchy, but a pepper spray in your hand, probably not. One final thing before we close this on out is, one of you out there, don't know who, but one of you out there is certainly saying, Austin, yes, you in the back. Austin, I'm just going to use pepper spray. Excuse me, not pepper spray. I'm going to use wasp spray instead of pepper spray. Wasp spray does not work on people. It does work on wasp. And if you have some free time, Google that stuff, GTS, and then go to YouTube. You'll see young men getting sprayed by this stuff. And I mean, literally just doused in it, and they're just fine. And that's another reason why young men do not live as long as young women, because they engage in behaviors like this. Maybe I'm incorrect, and there's a young lady out there who's getting sprayed in wasp spray for YouTube hits, but I have not seen it yet. So in closing, buy a good pepper spray. I like Sabre for the home units. I like Palm for the hand units. I like Fox for the 1 pounder if you want it. Make sure you check with your local laws to make sure that there's no restrictions on percentage or MCUs or size. I know here in Texas, in my state, it's like, size for personal use, but they don't define what that is. But pretty much it seems to me the courts and the DA and the officers all decide about 4 ounces, about as big as they want you to carry. You start carrying something this big as a civilian, they might take not too happy about that. If you travel, you can take it on the airplane, but it has to be in the belly of the plane. I fly with mine when I travel overseas and to different states all the time. I only put it in my checked bags. I never try to sneak it on the airplane. Don't be stupid. And I usually leave it at the other end with one of my guests or my host and don't fly back with it. It's $12, something like that. And it's not really worth me putting it in a pressurized cabin or a semi-pressurized cabin to have it leak on out on the way back. So that is pretty much my talk. And then I think I have some questions and answers. So I'm trying to figure out what my questions and answers are going to be. Let me check my chat. Can I pepper spray an animal if it's threatening me or someone else? First off, I love this question. I always like when people say, oh, animals threatening me. It's like, it's like thumping you in the chest going, I want my milk bone, man. Tired of dry food. Where's my canned food? The dog that chased you today while you're out running for health and fitness, you spray, will sit on the front porch and wave at you tomorrow when you go on by. I've had tremendous amount of luck with pepper spray and animals in the real world. There's probably like people, there's going to be some that haven't affected. In all my years in law enforcement, I've sprayed a lot of animals and done a lot of good. One of the things that really concerns me in law enforcement is canine encounters. I think that a lot of animals get shot in this country that don't need to be shot by law enforcement, and pepper spray. And if it's a big animal moving quickly, I'll break out the 1 pounder and put on a big old fog of it, make sure you know which way the wind's blowing, and kind of save the trouble. So I don't know if we have any other questions or if I missed anything. If I did, just go ahead and contact me through Conceal Coalition. I really do hope to see you in a virtual tactical academy class where we have inert units and you'll actually work on the screen. It's amazing without having to pressure test yourself with your pepper spray in a real live environment, how quickly we forget it's there and how we do kind of strange things, and how after 3 or 4 or 5 scenarios of pepper spray, your brain really locks it in. I mean, you've got those neurons that are wired together, fired together, and you really deal with it. One thing I did forget is, do you want to use your gun hand or your non-gun hand? For me, I'm a big fan of using my gun hand for my spray, because when it's time for spray to go and I need to go to gun, I need 2 hands in the gun so I get the best shot possible to make sure I can stop the threat right now. And if I have it in my non-dominant hand, or my students in the virtual reality space have it there, they usually end up trying to hold a pepper spray and a gun at the same time. And when it's time to go to gun, it's time to go to gun. And when spray don't work, spray don't work. So hopefully, at what point do you gauge when someone else has crossed from needing to use force to lethal force? When you say to yourself, this situation is so, it's got the 5, it's IRAP. It's imminent. I'm innocent in the situation. My response is reasonable. If I can avoid it, I had, and my response is proportional. At that point in time, if they're causing you serious bodily injury or serious risk of death to you or a third person, then that's when you have to say, look, this is no longer working. What I like about pepper spray, though, in this continuum is if you start with pepper spray and it doesn't work, you can go to a gun. This, I think, makes your situation much more legally defensible. And it does show that you tried everything possible to hopefully de-escalate the situation. If you read, the book is coming out on de-escalation. We talk about how to de-escalate with pepper spray. Also in this Conceal Coalition University episode on de-escalation, we also mentioned, I think, in there about de-escalating pepper spray. Because what are we doing? We're taking somebody from up here down there. If I can get a pattern interrupt, get them a big blast of righteous hot sauce in the face, and we solve it at that level, we're good. But remember, there's a time for talking, there's a time for fighting. There's a time for less lethal. There's a time for lethal. And where that line is hard to define. That's why I don't want the first time you ever have to make that decision under stress to be on your own in the street with life and death consequences. I really want you coming to the Conceal Coalition Virtual Tactical Academy, where you, me, and the simulator spend some time and really work this out in your head so that you have all those discrete skills in order to get you a more predictable, effective, consistent, legal, civil, and socially acceptable outcome. So I think my time is right up. I want to thank y'all for coming in and spending 30 minutes with me. I hope you got something out of this. the de-escalation book is coming out. The next book is awareness. It'll be out probably another 2 months. Then after that, I'm going to do a whole book on pepper spray where I take a deep dive into this topic. Because again, after 30 years on this topic now, almost 31 years, I still think most people just think it's spray and pray. And there's a lot more to this tool in discrete skills to get you better results out of it. So with that, guys, as I like to finish off every topic, be a guardian always and a warrior when needed.